Good afternoon, UK. This is Tim and Kings, as usual, on the buzz. We're talking to you about VR. Now, what is the future of VR? We've seen a lot of cartoons, we've seen a lot of movies, and if you watch The Matrix, you need to understand how far they're looking at, improving this technology. It might not be as affordable yet, but nothing was affordable at its initial stages. Just like the tickets to space right now with Virgin Galactic, they're $250,000 right now, but Richard Branson promises for it to go down to $40,000. I mean, things like these, the experience, learning, entertainment, these two channels are going to just explode in the VR or the AR experience in the near future. But how are we seeing progress right now? Where is the progress visible right now? Where are we looking at the numbers? Who's investing? Where are they investing in? What are the experiences? Why? And what's the ROI as well, right? So this is Tim and Kins on the buzz as usual. We're breaking down everything: business, tech, entrepreneurship. Kings, what have we got to break down today?
So today we will be talking about how Oso VR raises $27 million to be able to turn surgery into a video game. We've also got some other news on Facebook's Oculus and how it leads global VR headset market. On top of that, we also have how Facebook and AT&T team up for augmented reality experiences. So right now, today, it seems like we're going to be talking a lot about virtual and augmented reality.
Yeah, and I think the whole story about I think the whole experience behind virtual reality is that it gives you a ton of, I'd say, what's the word, a ton of unlimited basically reach in terms of where you want to go, what you want to experience. Because once
Indeed,
you come
yeah.
into interacting, just movies just have your hearing and your sight, right? But when it
Yeah.
comes to VR, what you can do is, if you have the analog sticks or the handles, you can actually go into things like operating things, or playing tennis, just like the Nintendo Wii you had.
Yeah.
Imagine that
Yeah.
with VR headsets. It's a completely different experience. I've seen videos of
Yeah.
people. Um, I've seen videos of people basically breaking down how it looks like. The videos with people basically talking about how it looks like on various applications, various we've spoken about Spotify, we've spoken about things like maybe even roller coasters. You get the whole experience where I've seen people basically skydive. And I don't know if you've seen these videos, but these have definitely gone viral, where people are on their headsets and are on their VR headset, and they eventually they actually fall down thinking that they're actually skydiving, because they look down and they think they're at a point where they actually can, they're at an altitude and they can just skydive. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. And they actually fall into TVs. There's also, if you play things like, if you play games like COD, or um, you know anything to do with warfare, you can basically, it's like you're walking around, it's like you're carrying a gun, or whatever weapon you are carrying, and just you get such an immersive experience. So you can, I mean, it's just unlimited. I can't wait to see where it's going. But we have one story here that we're going to talk about, and it's about how also VR is raising, like you said, $27 million. That's almost the price of what the seat in Jeff Bezos's
The auctioned off
rocket has
seats.
almost gone to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The auctioned off seats.
But yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna be basically breaking down this story in the lines of where how industries are adopting this technology, and where this startup is from, what the startup is looking at doing, why, which industry as well, who the founders are, talking about what they are looking at getting into, and yeah, just a lot of explorations and a lot of forecast in terms of where they're looking at going. So stay tuned right here. You're on the buzz with Kings and Tim. We're breaking down this conversation with also VR. We'll be also going into a bit of Facebook VR. So stay tuned right here. We're going to be showing you a quick video on who we are at, Relax, Radio, and we'll be right back. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh. So that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're riding? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts, mainly one because they're nice and bright, so they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's very important, right? Because you want cars, yeah.
Very important. And also, like, people see me in, like, calves, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on here, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back from the break. We are your hosts, DJ Kings and Tim, and you are tuned into Relax Radio, and this is The Buzz, where we've got everything business, everything finance, everything entrepreneurship, and everything technology. So just before the break, we were talking about breaking down some virtual reality and talking about how $27 million was invested into turning surgery into a video game.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we were talking about how when it came to sports, when it came to, improving how improving the IQ or giving, basically building up IQ, sports IQ when it comes to games like basketball, games like, football.
Yeah.
It's super immersive because, even without being in the actual situation, you can learn a lot before you get onto the job. So
yeah, exactly.
It's pretty cool because this is healthcare as well, and I think from here, once let's say for example, okay, when you talk about costs, the investment might be pretty significant, but let's say a hospital has this whole investment done in it, and they get the new trainees to come do it here. That way, first of all, if they train the employees or the new recruits, the not only are the recruits more confident at the end of whatever training, but the hospital is also more confident in putting them out into actual scenarios. Now, if that is the case, to add to that, at the end of the day, I think even the patients will be more confident approaching hospitals like this, right?
Yeah, exactly. And one thing with as we've already notified that the basketball, like, it helps build up the IQ in a game situation. I feel as though, like, obviously with this is yes, it does help with the confidence. Yes, it does help with being able to understand, being able to put themselves into a situation like this where it doesn't feel as tense, So it's like I don't know, whenever it comes to playing games, you're relaxed whenever you play games because you enjoy playing games, Things don't need to be taken too seriously. Everything's just like an enjoyable environment that within itself makes sense, especially whenever it comes to turning surgery into a video game. It makes things less tense. There's not as much pressure. You're like the type of environment you're in is all, it's not real, it's all virtual. So that's probably what kind of takes the edge off of, that real feeling, if you know what I mean. Like, it kind of takes the edge off of realizing the type of situation you're in. So whilst performing this surgery in a virtual reality state, it does help boost up the confidence. It does help boost up that sense of self it boosts up that sense of self, like being able to believe that, yeah, that self belief, being able to
Yeah,
know
yeah,
that,
yeah.
yeah, I can do this, I'm able to do that. This doesn't feel difficult at all, you know. Whereas in the event of a real life situation where you are taking care of a patient, where you are doing this, where you are doing that, it's like, you know, there's so many different emotions that one could possibly feel. You know, like whilst trying to perform this surgery, you're very concerned about thinking this is an actual human being, this is a real life human being. If I mess up now, if anything goes wrong, that's it. You know, either I have to find a way to be able to rectify it, or they could be suffering from permanent damage, which I have just caused.
Oh,
So
yeah, sure.
yeah, so I understand the reasoning behind that. Some may even argue to say, well, it would make sense to put them into a real life situation so then they know what they're entering into and then they become used to it. So it's not a sense of, you know, so it's not, so it doesn't become a thing where it's like they freeze up the next time they see a body, you know, because doctors are trained to do these type of things. They are trained to
Yeah,
see these type of things. But
absolutely.
it's understandable as to why they choose to put this investment of 27 million turning surgery into a video game, because you know there are some people that just will never get that confidence. They feel like they need to be put in a different situation to be able to understand how to handle it. So yeah, all in all, I
So,
do agree with it.
sorry?
All in all, I do agree with it. The
Oh,
27
yeah,
million,
for
I do
sure.
agree with it.
I mean, no, just like, pilots, they get into this whole stimulator, and it's basically a whole machine that works sometimes on hydraulic pressures, where even if you pull back with the joystick, the plane is supposed to extend backwards or upwards, right? So you feel that jerk or you feel the tilt with the whole simulation. Um, so you have experiences like that when it comes to medical, when it comes to surgeries or practicing for it. You have the physical practice actually going on as well. Physical meaning there. I think you first, test on you first, I think, test on artificial organs, and then eventually on organs, and then you can maybe get onto live humans. But here, I think
Yeah,
it not only extends the ability to practice and
yeah,
reduces overall cost, but
yeah,
it also can work with remote working. You get what I'm saying? So
yeah. VR can work with them remote. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah, so let's say if you have to get this particular if you have to get this particular certification or the degree in whatever the experience is,
yeah,
you can actually work around it even if you are not in that particular country, or if you are not in that particular state. So that way, I think it really expands your your limitations in the lines of who you qualify with, where you are. It's qualifying. It's going to be basically improving the overall generation of doctors as well.
yeah, exactly. And along with that, it also improves the quality of work that this new generation of doctors is able to bring to the table. You know, we already have our traditional doctors that currently have been working in the front lines for years to come, for as long as I could even think of, and they've been trained through that traditional method. They've been shown this traditional method. They've been taught how to handle things the traditional way. Now, with the new era of technology coming into play, like everything is starting to change due to new technology. Everything is starting to change due to the fact that we are entering a new technological era. We're entering a new technological decade, and more decades will show that lifestyle as we know it is going to change even more than we had ever believed before, you know? So
Absolutely.
now that we have reached this new technological era, we're starting to see that, there's going to be a lot more of a difference in how there's going to be a lot more methods in terms of being able to deal with certain things, So with augmented reality, with virtual reality, we've already spoken in the past about how it can help with architecture and designing, what's it, not instructional, industrial
Industrial, yeah.
design. It can help with the basketball IQ. It can help with teaching kids how to be able to gain more intelligence on the court or on the pitch. It could also help with fashion designing. We've spoken about how people will be able to see brands and different types of clothing on them or on themselves using the Snapchat glasses. You know, we've now come to the point of a new technological era where things are starting to just become completely different, and technology is soon to become full circle. So, with that being said, these are new methods which are being introduced in terms of learning how to teach new students that are trying to achieve some great things, you know? And not to mention, it could also be easier, depending on who's capable of digesting what, it could be easier. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to, I think, revolutionize the industry. And just like we spoke a couple of, I think, weeks back on how VR is changing the construction industry, you know, it's definitely going to basically shift a ton of industries. You know, like the quote stands strong. You know, if you're not in technology, technology will be in your business very soon. So, you know, if you're keen on understanding further about this story, make sure you're tuned in on the Buzz. Kings is here all the way till 2 p.m. Now we're breaking down the conversation around VR, around this startup that has basically acquired, that has raised $27 million. And yeah, stay tuned on the Buzz. We'll be right back after this couple of videos. Good afternoon.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you got to start with saying, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have to teach you the maths behind it, but you can say, okay, and if I get a 3% return and I put this away for how long will it take to reach my goal? And that's called just this basic cash flow projection calculations. And it's what we use in financial planning all the time. What we say to clients is we say, okay, what is your goal? What is your objective? Where do you want to go to? And we discuss that in a lot of detail and over most of the meeting. And then the rest of it is saying, okay, in your exact circumstances, with your risk profile, with how you feel about investments and pensions and taxes and where you are and who you work with, and your education level or your lack of education or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account, and then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time. And we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million pounds. And they're different, right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws to different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies and then you step up into different things.
We're back on the buzz with Kings and Tim. We're talking about how this startup has basically raised $27 million, and it's basically built around giving an experience of. It's built around giving an experience of being in a hospital theater for doctors and operating on a particular basically a patient. And this is all with just goggles and a pair of joysticks. Now, VR didn't really seem like the ultimate of his experience, or it's also called a telepresence machine. And this is during the pandemic. Now, it wasn't for a lack of trying, but some startups have focused on employee training in VR, and they have found some validation over the past year. Now, professionals, across industries have been forced to access institutional knowledge in remote settings. But, just like we spoke about it, it might not be the case always. If you are working from a remote, location, you might be able to access all the necessary, I'd say, get the necessary experience, regardless of where you are. And, with also we are a San Francisco based VR tech startup. These guys are working on medical training, and this has peaked investor attention, and they've bulked up on partnerships with medical devices, medical device powerhouses, and people like Johnson's and Johnson. I mean, Stryker and Smith. These are all companies that they've come to pair up with during the pandemic, and now they've had an interview with TechCrunch, and they've recently closed, like I said, a Series B funding led by GSR Ventures, and this has had an additional participation from Signalfire, Kaiser Permanente Ventures, and Interact Ventures. Now, it seems to have a significant, supporting or base, or I'd say a backing from where they have started. But to come to a Series B, I think it's pretty respectable for where they are. And also VR is looking at spending up-end modern surgical instructions with a virtual reality based solution. Now, this allows surgeons to interact with new medical devices in the 3D space, it also helps them, actually perform a surgery. Maybe, what I'm thinking is, just like you have these game situations or game scenarios, right? Now
Yeah,
you might be able to, let's say you play 2K. So let's say, when you're practicing, you have your
yeah,
practice sessions that you can play. You know how different it is when, you don't have the fans in the building. All you hear is, the players panting, or you hear the players calling for the ball, asking you
yeah,
to shoot, shouting,
yeah.
telling you to defend. You can hear the
Speaking of
sneakers,
feet shots, yeah.
skip.
Oh, seems like we've had a bit of a technical difficulty here. I think we've lost Tim. Tim, you here? You with us? I think what he was going to go off and say, ladies and gentlemen, was how he was talking about how with 2K you can hear all of the different types of the different environment as you're training. So the squeaking of feet, shots going up, balls bouncing, people calling for the ball, players panting. Whereas in comparison with virtual reality, like if you're to use virtual reality now, you are immersing yourself in that whole environment. So then you are literally right there. Say for example, you ask for that pass, you receive that pass. You're able to take shots up the usual way that you would you'd receive like the environment is all just completely different. And I feel as though, in comparison to bringing that over to what also VR is trying to do, that is literally just there to uphold the whole idea of, making the environment so much more comfortable. As I had mentioned before the break, oh dear, as I've mentioned before the break, we had spoken on the fact that it helps make the whole environment more comfortable for the surgeons trying to perform the surgery. So as you can see, with also VR, it helps build that confidence. Just like being in that NBA 2K environment with those VR goggles on, being able to shoot and receive passes from your favorite players, everything's completely different. You train in these situations, you train and work hard in these situations so that you're able to perform when you really need to perform. Whether there's a crowd like you would do in 2K or in basketball in real life, or whether you really need to come through and perform everything that you have learnt on the patient that is sitting on that surgical bed and requires your attention immediately. So looking through the whole article talking about also VR, that they are also looking to upend modern surgical instruction with virtual reality based solution that allows surgeons to interact with new medical devices in 3D space. That was already mentioned before by Tim. As you can see right now, he has disappeared on us completely. Again, ladies and gentlemen, apologies for technical difficulties. As you know, everybody's working from home. I myself am working from home. There have been some issues with the studio, but I can assure you that they will come back up and running. So moving forward with that, there was also talks on how that they had partnered up with other people, just like Johnson and Johnson, Stryker, and Smith and Nephew during the pandemic. So besides the fact that they had already closed a $27 million in Series B funding, that this has basically pushed the whole agenda of being able to have this VR. This pushed this whole agenda of being able to change the surgery, being able to adjust it to make it into a virtual reality video game. So, as you already know, I've already stated all the benefits. We have stated all the benefits of what. Oh, seems like we've gone back. You with us, Tim?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so we kind of I kind of lost you there with a bit of I
That's
kind
no
of lost you
problem.
there because of the connection, but yeah, I'm here now, and